A very good morning to all the students of class 12th political science. And students, as you know, we had finished our last chapter, that was parties and party system in India. We had finished all the important parts of that chapter. And today we are going to start the new chapter of our new revised syllabus. And the chapter of your book is supposed to be chapter number 6, that is the crisis of the democratic order. But in connection to the new revised syllabus, your name for this particular chapter would be democratic resurgence. Instead of this name, your name of this chapter is democratic resurgence. Certain changes have been made, but this entire chapter would be important, and we shall be reading this from this same book, as this content is very much relevant according to the new syllabus as well, in which we shall be reading about the national emergency which was imposed on 1975. So we had already in the last chapter studied till the elections of 1971 and how Congress has restored its dominance and power. Once again, we have seen that at the center level, that is Lok Sabha election, as well as at the state assemblies. We had seen that how Indira Gandhi was against gaining so much of popularity through the various ideologies and various political strategies she has followed during that election of 1971. So now we shall be studying the background from 1971 till 1975, that what were the circumstances which led to the this we can say problem in India, which led to the imposition of emergency in 1975. But before we study about the national emergency which was imposed in 1975 and what were the reason, what were the internal circumstances of India, and we shall also be seeing the consequences of the emergency. But before all this, which we shall be reading in this chapter, the few new important topics have been added to this chapter. Okay, as first of all, let's see the name democratic resurgence. From its name, you can understand resurgence means to reestablish something, to recreate or reform already existing political phenomena. That is, we were already following the democratic policy in India. We wanted our nation was a democratic nation after independence, but after 60s and 70s era, we saw that there were a lot of changes in the democracy, where people started feeling that is this the true meaning of democracy which we had always dreamed of, which our freedom fighters had dreamed of. So now 60s and 70s, at this particular time, there was a lot of revolutions in our country, in the various states around the country, to re-establish and reform and recreate the democracy in India. It was felt that the real and true meaning of democracy was fading away, and it was a time to raise the voice through some revolutions and bring change to the democracy. As to that is why the name of the chapter is democratic resurgence, because the true democracy for which we had fought for the freedom struggle during the British period, the meaning was changing with these 60s and 70s decade. So the need was required for democratic resurgence. In this, three important leaders were very important, for which we shall be studying in this chapter, that is role of Jayaprakash Narayan and Ram Manohar Lohia and Deen Dayal Upadhyay. So these three shall be the important personalities, scholars about whom we shall be studying, because they are closely related and connected to the democratic resurgence. They were prevalent during this time when there were revolutions for the change and recreation of the democracy. So before we start this chapter, we shall be starting with the three important personalities. That is, in this particular video, I shall be discussing about the role of Jayaprakash Narayan in this democratic resurgence. We shall be looking at his ideology. Okay, so we shall start that. So, as I have told you, that period of 60s was one of the difficult period where there were a lot of problems in India, and these problems also carried forward to the decade of 70s. And we have discussed the problems relating to, like, we had wars, we had drought problem, then food grain shortages. All that were the problems during the decade of 60s and 70s. And because of this economic, social and political dissatisfaction among the people, the political system was proven that it was not capable to provide solution to those problems. So our political system in during the decade of 60s and 70s in regards to these political, economic and social problems was not capable to provide any solution to these problems. People were still under poverty line, and there was a lot of unemployment, inflation, that is rise in the prices of basic commodities, and the gap between the rich and poor had increased even more. So these are the problems which on which government political system, the current and during the 60s and 70s, the political system was not capable to find any solutions. So because of this, people were very much dissatisfied with the functioning of the government. So now people had started feeling that government was not ready to listen to the suffering of the common people. So what kind of democracy is it? So this was the question coming to the people's mind. What kind of democracy is this? Is this the same democracy which our freedom fighters had always dreamed of, and we had always been thinking of the times and when we will be independent nation, we shall have the democracy, equality, freedom, and all the important political phenomena. Okay, so this led to the many movements. So these all these problems and the circumstances which were there in the 16 and 70s, all this led to the various movements, demonstration, protest for the revolutions to bring change in the structure of the democracy which was prevalent in India. So in our country, these type of movements started, like for trade unions movement based on caste based movement, student movements, Marxism movement, that is socialism. It was a time to give new meaning to the democracy or recreate democracy, as current system was not truly democratic in nature. So we can say it was a time to recreate. That is why the name of the chapter is Democratic Resurgence, as the democracy was not truly a democracy in true nature that we wanted it. So now we shall be starting about the studying about the three important leaders, and first I shall be studying about JP Narayan, who is one of the most important personalities when we talk about this democratic resurgence or revolution in the field of democracy. Okay, so we shall be taking that first, all the three important personalities. Later on we will study about the national emergency, that is of 1975. Okay, so for that, this is the additional topic, so I've written some notes for you. As you know, this was the sixth chapter of your book, but according to the new revised syllabus, this is the fifth chapter, and the name is also changed from the crisis of democratic order to democratic resurgence. And the new topics which had been added to this chapter, democratic resurgence, are the Jayaprakash Narayan and total revolution, Ram Manohar Lohia and his socialism, Deen Dayal Upadhyay and integral humanism. So along with these personalities, we shall be also studying their ideologies. And the fourth new topic which has been added is democratic upsurges. So we shall be first of all taking these four topics one by one. And today I shall be taking only Jayaprakash Narayan and total revolution. And later on we shall be studying the basic content which was already there in your book, that is emergency of 1975. Okay, so now Jayaprakash Narayan and total revolution. So let us see his birth date. He was born on 11th October 1902, and he was dead on 8th October 1979. So this is the born year and the death year. So he was born in Bihar state, and his schooling was already done in Bihar itself, and the district was Chhapra. Higher education, for the higher education he went to United States of America in 1920. So these are some of the important basic details of Jayaprakash Narayan, or he is popularly known as JP also. JP was influenced by Karl Marx theory of Marxism. So when he went to America in 1920, there he was very much influenced by the ideology of Karl Marx, that is Marxism, that is socialism. And during his higher education he studied the Karl Marx and his all the important works, his books, his theories. So he was very much fascinated and very much influenced by the theory of Karl Marx. So when he used to work in US, he used to, for to paying his fees and his rents, he used to work there as a shop, small jobs, as a maybe in the shops, maybe in the car shops, like that. So he found what were the problems of the people, work of the working class or the laborers. So with that he could relate the theory of Karl Marx. And here that at the same time, Russian Revolution was introduced in 1917. So because of this revolution only, there was a formation of USSR. As we know, this Russian Revolution was in relation to the socialism. So he read this particular revolution very in detail. He saw all the important elements of this Karl Marx theory and this Russian Revolution in 1917, and he was very much influenced by the policies and the ideology of Karl Marx. So he was fascinated towards socialism. JP realized that people's suffering could be ended by following the ideology of Marxism. So when he was staying himself in US, he saw that people's suffering could only be ended if we follow the ideology of Marxism. Late in 1929, he came back to India. But after that, in 1928, late 1928, he came back to India and strongly supported the national freedom struggle. That was the time our freedom struggle was as the peak, and there were so many important freedom struggles who were involved in the national fight against the Britishers. So he also joined this national freedom struggle. But here, when he joined this party, Congress, and the revolution and the against for freedom, he was very much influenced by the Gandhian ideology. He followed Gandhiji, the way Gandhiji organized his movements, and the what were the all the characteristics of Gandhiji, all were followed by here by Jayaprakash Narayan. So after independence, he was also known as the only Gandhian in the post independence period after Gandhi. So here are some stories during the national freedom struggle. During national movement, many times JP had to go to jail. So because as we know, many freedom struggle used to go to jail. Britishers used to put them in jail when, especially like in 1932, many leaders were arrested by Britishers during civil disobedience. From 1930, this was a movement going on in India, civil disobedience movement, and in this many Britishers had put many of the Indian freedom struggle leaders into the jail, and out of them one was Jayaprakash Narayan along with Ram Manohar Lohia also. So they both met in the jail, and they both, while talking, they realized that within the Congress they were influenced by ideology of Marxism. So both, like socialism, Karl Marx, they were influenced by the policy of Karl Marx, that is socialism, and they had a tilt toward the principle of socialism. So they were influenced and they supported the ideology of socialism. So when they were discussing in the jail, so leaders decided to establish a party within the Congress. So these two already had decided that once they go out, they will establish a party within the Congress. So they had established a party whose name was Congress Socialist Party. Suppose this is Congress, and within the Congress they had established a left oriented party, and this left oriented party was called Congress Socialist Party, CSP, in 1934. All within the Congress, this was called Congress Socialist Party. But you have to remember, this was not a separate party within the Congress. As I have told you, there are various factions and groups and ideologies within the Congress. So this was one of the other ideologies and faction of the Congress Party. So here particularly discussing about now Jayaprakash Narayan. Jayaprakash Narayan was popularly referred to as a JP. So people called him JP or Lok Nayak. In Hindi is Lok Nayak, in English we call it People's Leader. So he was a people's leader. People called him Lok Nayak. Was an Indian independent activist. He took part in the national freedom struggle of India when he came back from US. And he was a theorist. He was a socialist. As we know, he was influenced by Karl Marx theory, and when he was staying in US, he was very much influenced by it. And he was also a political leader in India, as he joined the Congress when he came back to India, and very much influenced by Gandhi also in India. So so when we will study about the national emergency, the nation's emergency in 19, which was imposed in 1975, this personality Jayaprakash Narayan will be playing a very important role. So it is good that we'll able to understand what his personality was like and what was his ideology. But here I am telling you about that his life has been divided into three phases, three parts before 1975, because here the emergency was imposed. But before this 1975, his life has been we have shown three phases of his life. First was Marxism. As we know, he was very much influenced by socialism, as he was studying for his greatest higher studies in US. he started following Karl Marx. Then second phase of his life was Sarvodaya Bhudan by Acharya Vinoba Bhave. So he was also supporting this Sarvodaya movement or the Bhudan movement, which was led by Acharya Vinoba Bhave. This Bhudan was a policy where, as he was a socialist, there was lot of gap between rich and poor. So they used to ask for the donation of the land from the rich people, and that donated land was distributed among the poor people. So these were some of the social work which he had started before 1975, after he was not active into the politics. So Bhudan, this was a moment where JP was taking part along with Acharya Vinoba Bhave in his movement, where, as I have told you, they were asking for the donation of land from the rich people and helping the poor. And the third was total revolution. This we'll see in the 70s period, when there was, as I told you, there was unrest in our country, politically, socially, and economically. People were dissatisfied with the functioning of the government and the type of democracy which was functioning in India. That is why we are studying this chapter. It was required that total revolution in all the spheres, whether economic, political, and social, to change the meaning of democracy, and which should be the true democracy. Okay, so these were some of the three important phases of JP's life. Then this is also some one important information you should know. The JP is also known as the hero of Quit India movement. As we know, he was taking part in the national freedom struggle with Gandhiji. So he was called the hero of this particular movement, and he remembered for leading the mid 1970s opposition against, as I told you, he had started taking part in the 1970s against Indira Gandhi for total revolution. As he was a selfless man, we could say. He had no personal interest or motive to be into the particular post or power, but he was a true socialist who wanted the good and better lifestyle of the people of India. So he was against this opposition of Indira Gandhi in 1970s. And then later on in 1999, remember this date, 1999, he was posthumously awarded the Bharat Ratna. This is one of the India's highest civilian award. He was being awarded with this Bharat Ratna, and is recognition and the for the recognition of the social work, for his very deep and good social work in the various fields. He was awarded as the Bharat Ratna. Here, Jayaprakash Narayan is known for the three key contribution. So when we talk about Jayaprakash Narayan and his ideology, as we are discussing here, so there are various three main contributions which we see of Jayaprakash Narayan. So first, as you can see here, fight against corruption. He was against corruption every time whenever our country required this, because just after independence, this corruption had already started within the political system of India, and he was always against corruption. When he came in 1970, he came and he called for the total revolution of the 16 and 70s period. So there was a lot of corruption, and there was required for the re-establishment of democracy. That is why he was against the corruption. Principles of communitarian socialism. So this principle of communitarian socialism we shall be discussing further in this same part, but let me tell you that principle of communitarian socialism means we have to along with this ideology of socialism, we also have to look at the communitarian means providing power, representation to each and every community, to every mohalla, to every samitis, to every block, every village. Importance and representation should be given to everyone. It should be done for all. That is, development should be done for all and with equality. And the last contribution was campaigning of total revolution. This we will see in detail in this chapter, total revolution. As we see, JP was the leader who took part in the movements in Bihar and Gujarat, which were against the rule of the government, in which he was the leader, and he asked for the total revolution, that is changes, fast quick changes in the economic, political, and social structure of our country. That is why the chapter is democratic resurgence. We have to research, reform the democracy in all spheres. That is why it was called total revolution. So when we say that his contributed fight against corruption, the example is here. If we say about that, he's one of the important key contribution were fight against corruption. So JP was the first leader in post independence. So after independence, JP was only the first leader, Indian leader who undertook a trial against corruption through the participation. So he took participation. He started supporting the youth movement, the student movement, particularly in Gujarat and Bihar. He advocated the office of Lokpal against corruption. So first of all, he was against the corruption. So he had accepted the leadership of the Bihar and Gujarat movement for the students, as it was against the corruption, against the unemployment, rising prices. So we can say complete total revolution. And also he advocated the office of Lokpal against corruption. This is the same type of movement which we have seen in Delhi. Anna Hazare had started this type of movement in Delhi, from which Aam Aadmi Party has emerged. In the same way, JP Narayan had also was also against this corruption, and he wanted a authority, a office which was independent and was also the authority which could take actions against the big influential political leaders of any party. So he always supported this type of independent office which would have the authority to take actions against the politicians who were into the corruption. So this type of the same, this was a very big, we can say, a step from JP. And again we saw this through Anna Hazare also. So as I told you, one of the key contribution, one was fight against corruption, we have seen here also. Other was principle of communitarian socialism. So we are discussing it here also. His principle of communitarian socialism views. So his view of this principle was that India is a society of communities. India has a lot of diversity, so there are various social groups, various communities encompassing three key layers. So every society or a community has three key layers, and what are those three layers are community, region, and Rashtriya. Whenever we go and see any community of India, you will find three basic layers: community, region, or Rashtriya. So what here JP wanted that all should be combined together as an example of the true federation. That is community, region, and Rashtriya. As we say, central, state, and local government at the village level or at the municipal corporation. So there should be a decentralization of power. Everyone should be given the representation, a true representation in the democracy, in the political system of India. So JP was always in the support of this principle of communitarian socialism, according to which there are three key layers: community, region, and Rashtriya, as central, state, and local government, all combining. Because if powers are divided between all three and there will be pure functioning of the democracy, it means we have the true federation. If the division, if the powers are and the powers and authorities are not divided between all these three, it means we cannot have the true federation. Okay. So by following all the principles which were given by Jay Prakash, so that is I said here, based on the above principles, Jay Prakash Narayan advocated transformation of individual. He wanted transformation, reestablishment, changes in the individual, in our society, in our state also, through his call for total revolution. And this was the, we can say, main thing: total revolution. Through total revolution we can bring transformation for the individual, society, and state. And especially he has specified certain fields where he said that there are required transformations. So his call for total transformation sought to encompass there should be changes in the morals. That is, we should not be selfish, self made. We should be like thinking of for all. We should think of our society, we should think of our country, for everyone. We should not be selfish, just thinking of our interest. Culture increasing, as India has a very rich culture. So with this total revolution, here JP wanted that we should maintain the richness of our culture. Economic, as there were a lot of gap between rich and poor, so we wanted to reduce this gap by total revolution of 60 of 70s. Then we talk about the political system of India, as our political system was not capable of finding solution to the problem of the people. So through total revolution and change in the political system and re-establishing it, we could find the solutions. in the field of education, ecological transformation. These are were some of the basic specific fields which JP wanted transformations. Here, by this, his political transformation included the right to recall. The importance recall. Right to recall is once we elect our representative, and once he gets the power in the as a MP or a MLA, and if he does not function for the growth and development of his area or whatever his promises were, and if he does not fulfill his promises, this should be right given to the citizens, right to recall, where they can again call him back, and that post should be given to someone else who could do that work. So this was the right to recall. Here JP wanted that this should be a right given to the citizens and the voters, as this was important for village mohalla samitis in democratic politics. And he called for upper ke log to join political struggle. He said upper ke log, they should join the struggle for bringing about the true democracy in India, for a clean politics in India, so that there should not be any corruption, because corruption has always started from the top level. If we see corruption at any organization, that corruption starts from the top level. But if at the top level the officers and the leaders are such which do not promote corruption or the ill activities, it means we can have the clean politics in our country. So this was the ideology of Jay Prakash Narayan, and about him we shall be studying in the national emergency which was imposed in 1975. We shall be seeing his role in the Bihar and Gujarat movements, and how as a leader he was so he had a very good impact on the youth and overall in our country. So this was all about Jay Prakash Narayan. And the next video we shall be studying about Ram Manohar Lohia and his ideology of socialism. Till then, thank you. Take care.